In this video, what I'm going to be talking about is how to be comfortable with not knowing. Okay, and the power that comes with this, because knowing is a useful tool, but when you attach to knowing and you believe that knowing is everything, then it's going to block you, because knowing can only take you so far. The real power can actually come in your life when you accept not knowing, when you can be comfortable with the uncertainty of life, because life is inherently uncertain, but we attach to the changing forms of reality thinking that that will give us peace, when in reality the true peace actually comes when you can accept not knowing. Because the ego wants to know. The ego wants to cling and attach and know more. But if you can accept not knowing, that's where the true power actually comes. That's where the true peace actually comes. Because if you accept not knowing, really what you're doing is you're accepting that you don't need logic or thinking in that moment. You're connecting to a deeper state of presence, because when you start to connect deeper to the moment, when you're shifting your awareness from your ego to the moment, what happens is there's a feeling of losing a sense of self. There's a feeling of losing your identity and who you are at some level. And to a certain extent, that's kind of true. You're losing a part of yourself when you accept not knowing, because it feels weird to the ego to not know, and it wants to understand, it wants to have that logic, but you have to be careful here, because when it comes to not knowing, that actually gives you the most power without you even realizing it. You have to be really careful here, because not knowing can actually give you a lot of power and freedom in your life and true peace, because you accept that your own little ego doesn't have to figure everything out. You can just let go sometimes. You don't need to figure everything out logically. When you can connect deeper to the present moment, you'll see that there's a deeper intelligence actually running everything in your life. And when you can have trust in this intelligence and let things come out of presence and being spontaneous, that's where the true power comes. That's really where the true power comes. Because if you're just dependent on knowing and logic and ego, and I have to figure everything out logically right now or things aren't going to work out, first of all, you're not going to tap into your true power of your being, not just on the human level, but on the being level. And you're going to suffer a lot, because when you attach to knowing something, this creates so much suffering, because you're attached to the identity of who you think you are. You're attached to a false sense of self. And if you're attached to this false sense of self, that's the thing that's making you scared to not know, because you're attached to that identity of who you think you are. And this can create serious suffering if you're identified with your thoughts in that way. So it's really, really important that you understand to truly not know is to surrender your identity and your ego. Surrender who you are. And who you are and your ego isn't going to want to surrender. So you have to be really careful here, because that part of you is going to try to fight for its life, so to speak. It's going to try to attach and cling onto reality, and it's going to want to know more. And it's going to be like, no, I need to understand. That's why when people start doing things like meditation, there's that pull to go back into the ego. There's this pull to sustain that level of identity. But the real power actually comes when you can let go of that identity, because then you find out who you truly are beyond the conditioning of your mind. When you can let go of that part of yourself and you can accept fully that you don't know, that you actually don't know a lot of things in life, when you can let go of that part of yourself, you'll actually know more as a result. And it's very counterintuitive, because you actually think right now that by knowing more, you are benefiting. But the reality is that if you surrender your ability to know more, you will actually know more. Super big paradox, very counterintuitive. So you got to watch out for that. You got to be really careful here, because the ego wants to know more, and the ego thinks that by growing a bigger ego, that it's actually gaining more in life. But the reality is that as you gain a bigger ego, you actually know less, because you close yourself off and you become selfish, and you're not as loving and open, and you're closing your reality off. You're almost seeing reality through, a set of goggles and filters, and you're blocking yourself to your truth. You're blocking yourself to your own truth and the truth of others, and fully accepting what it is that you see in that moment. So you have to be really careful here. Because if you're not careful with this, if you don't accept not knowing, and you cling on to logic, and you cling on to information, and you think that's everything, then you're not going to be able to fully tap into your true potential of the being part of you. The being, not just on the human level, but on the being level. Because when you can accept not knowing, there's a true power that comes. I'll give you some practical examples. When you're in the middle of a conversation with somebody, right, and you just you're there as the presence, and you don't think about what you're going to say next. You don't know what you're going to say, but you kind of ease into that and you accept that. That's where the true power comes, because what you say will actually come out of spontaneity and presence, and it's not going to come from logic. It's going to come from a deeper part of who you are. Or let's say you're following your heart to go towards your life purpose. There's going to be a lot of uncertainty that comes up during this process. But to fully allow this uncertainty will actually give you the most freedom and power, because the one thing that my coach taught me is that life is actually inherently uncertain. Okay? And we don't know, life is not guaranteed. The vision that you have is not always guaranteed. If you hold that vision and you hold that space, it's probably going to happen, and it has to happen at some point. But the process of how it happens is not guaranteed, and it's not going to be clear. And the ego is going to resist that, because the ego wants everything to be clear. But you have to let go of that to actually live into that. That's the key. Because if you're attached to the how, and you're attached to how things specifically have to work out, there's going to be resistance. You're going to create resistance, and things are going to be much harder than necessary. And so, when I was dropping out of school a couple months back to fully step into my purpose, or I was investing more money in my coach than I was comfortable investing, there's a certain level of uncertainty that comes along with that. But it's almost like when you can fully step into that uncertainty and be okay with it in the present moment, and that's when almost like the universe rewards you to a certain extent, and you actually get what you want. Because I was telling myself that I was uncertain about my goals happening, and if I drop school, what if this doesn't work out? And all of it was really fear created in my mind. It was just completely conceptual. It was a made-up story. And then when I actually learned how to bathe in that uncertainty and kind of just accept that I don't know what's going to happen, doesn't mean that I can't hold a vision for myself. In fact, you have to hold a vision for yourself, because we either live into our vision or our fear. We either make decisions based on pure love and consciousness and awareness, or we feed into unconsciousness and ego and deception. All right? And either of these are going to control your life on a moment-to-moment basis. So I started to realize that I was actually not fully allowing myself to be comfortable with the uncertainty of life. But then the moment that I started to accept the uncertainty of life is when my life actually started to work out for the better. I started to make more clients, my YouTube channel started to grow, my relationships became a lot deeper, and things counterintuitively started to go in a direction that wouldn't have happened if I didn't ease in the not knowing. Even when it comes to recording a video like this, every single video that I record comes straight from the heart. Okay, there's no script. I don't script anything. I have an idea and I let what needs to come out because I know that at a deeper level that my mind doesn't have to figure it all out. Okay, there's something deeper here, which is consciousness and love, and there's a deeper awareness, there's a deeper sense of intelligence that can control our life if we allow that divinity to flow through us. But you have to let it flow, you have to accept it, you have to accept and allow and be comfortable that your little ego doesn't have to figure everything out. Because sometimes for the greater good of the universe, things have to go in a certain way. And to your ego, it might not make sense. To your limited perception, things might not make sense. But that's where the true power comes, is when you can accept, like, you know, you say, hey, wait a second, my ego doesn't actually have to figure everything out. Okay, my logic doesn't have to figure everything out. There's a time and place for logic, but there's also a time and place to let go of logic and surrender yourself to the higher power or the deeper intelligence of who you actually are. All right? And if you don't believe in that stuff, it's up to you, whatever label you want to use. But at the end of the day, whether you want to call it consciousness, awareness, the higher power, you call it God, you could call it the observer, you could call it the creator, whatever word you want to use. But if you let that part of yourself flow through you, and I'm not saying that you just let this happen naturally, you can consciously tap into this part of yourself, consciously enter the present moment and tap into your higher self that will actually let you float and unfold into the reality that you're supposed to create. You'll actually allow your reality to unfold in the way that it needs to unfold. And you're not going to be in resistance to that because you're allowing your ego to not run the show. You're letting something else take over. And that might seem very esoteric, but it doesn't have to make sense on a logical level. You can actually experience this and notice that you can become intensely present and allow things to arise naturally from a place of presence. And that comes from a state of not knowing and not being attached to your ego. And this can be really, really, really practical for creativity or beginning a conversation with somebody, right? Or making the next business move. Whatever it is that you're doing in life, that next decision that you have to make in the moment. You can do it from a deeper place of awareness, not from your ego. And it might not make logical sense, but then afterwards you'll see that things happen for a reason and that it wasn't a coincidence. And so when you can actually let go of logically knowing, you also start to improve your logic counterintuitively, because when you let go of not knowing, you're open to knowing more. If you accept that you don't know and you fully ease into that and you fully accept and you stay humble, so to speak, and it's not that you're just rationalizing being humble, but you're so conscious of the present moment, you're so aware that naturally there's an openness that comes up within you. You're more loving, you're more open, and you're more aware. And you can tap into this part of yourself a lot easier when you let go of your little ego. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. Accept not knowing and you'll actually find true power in your life that you didn't realize that you had before. All right, and this will actually improve your life in ways that you couldn't even imagine. That's all I have for you today. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button if you actually find this kind of content useful and you like things that relate to connecting deeper to the present moment and finding out who you are beyond the limited ego conditioned mind. All right, once again, my mindfulness group coaching program is now open So if you want to be part of the class, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. There's a couple spots left. Once I reach a certain amount of people, I'm just going to close it off because I don't want to teach more than a certain amount of people in the class. Have yourself a great day and see you in the next video.